From the far reaches of the Milky Way galaxy, it's Retro Nerd Girl with a film review for you. Today I'll be reviewing the movie American Werewolf in London, released in 1981, starring David Naughton, Jenny Agutter, and Joe Belcher. Directed by John Landis. The genre, comedy, horror. The rating is an R. The budget, $10 million estimated. The IMDb rating is currently a 7.6. The synopsis is, a young American college student, David Kessler, gets bitten by a werewolf as he is being haunted by the ghost of his best friend, Jack, while beginning to build a relationship with a British nurse by the name of Alex. Story. John Landis wrote the screenplay for this film following an incident while shooting Kelly's Heroes in 1970 in the countryside of Yugoslavia, observing a gypsy funeral. It took some time, but John finally got the green light to make the film a decade later. The progression of events are pretty simple, but there's an additional spark of genius in the odd dream sequences that not only surprise the audience but leave them wondering about it long after the film is over. The story here is king. The comedy and special effects are heavy, but also come naturally and appropriately from the dire situation. There are lots of memorable quotes from fantastic dialogue. Pacing. At an hour and 37 minutes, I absolutely love the pacing of this film. Everything just flows wonderfully. The challenge. The challenge in this film is the curse of the werewolf and how David deals with it. Curses in movies and pop culture are pretty much events, but in this film, the curse manifests psychological tortures for David to try to get him to eventually kill himself. And the way the curse manifests these tortures are through dream sequences and visits from the undead. The film is famous for a specific scene where David's home in America is violently invaded by Nazi werewolves. The sequence really confuses many viewers, but we have to remember that the events in dreams hardly make sense unless you know how to interpret dreams. Dreams are ways that the subconscious mind can communicate with us, and sometimes violence and shocking images are the only way to get our attention. In many films in the 1980s, the Nazis were a regular representation of pure evil. And in this scene, they decimated David's family, who were probably the only people that he actually really loved besides his friend Jack at the time of the dream. And mind you that they were werewolves, foretelling that the curse of the werewolf would destroy his world and everything he cares about. Another example of the fact that the curse is manifesting itself in the dream is that all of the dream sequences include something associated to the wolf. When Jack appears, the dreams go away. The manifestation of the curse is finally materialized in the most effective way to communicate with, and in a state that will get his attention, still fresh from the kill. Is Jack a zombie? No. He's really not there at all. And you know that because he disappears whenever other people enter the room. He is a part of David's imagination. Another interesting thing to notice about Jack is the way he is decaying, which seems as if the transfer of time were weeks, but it's only been a couple of days. Empathy. David is a good kid. It's just easy to bond with him as he and Jack start out the film bantering. He's not a hero or specifically gifted like the One. He is just an average guy in a very bad situation. When he's attacked by the werewolf, he is taken to a hospital where he meets Dr. Hirsch and his nurse, Alex Price. There is an instant attraction between Alex and David, resulting in a rather sudden romantic relationship. In the meantime, David is trying to tell them all that he was attacked by an animal. He's having weird dreams and being visited by his dead friend, Jack. Dr. Hirsch is the only person to really dig any further into David's claims, and I don't really think that he ever believes David is a werewolf, but he believes that something's wrong. And when he checks out the tavern where David and Jack was last seen before the attack, the slaughtered lamb, he really gets sort of the red flag. Something is definitely wrong here. The technical aspects of the film. The technical aspects of the film really shine over time. I remember just being blown away by what I saw when I was just 11, and believe it or not, it didn't scare me then. I loved it. I think that people usually remember David's werewolf transformation scene because it's spectacular, and in my opinion, it's the very best werewolf transformation scene I've ever witnessed. While John Landis was trying to get the film made, he discussed a wolf transformation with Rick Baker, who later won the very first Academy Award for Best Makeup for this film. Rick Baker's dog Bosco was used as a model for the wolf to embody what Landis called a four-legged hound from hell. And boy did he ever. John Landis initially only wanted to show glimpses of the wolf, but he loved Rick Baker's work so much he decided to really show the monster in great detail, which was a sensational idea. I mean, you can't take your eyes off that wolf on screen when you see it. The same excellence was placed into the makeup used for Jack's makeup. I mean, it looks terrible, and I mean that in a good way. And the film seemed to bask in the details of each stage of Jack's deterioration, and I think a lot of films turn away from that because it may be too gross for people to handle. I thought it was fantastic. It's a rare craft very few films have really embraced. The sound design was amazing, fully engulfing you in the moments of tension and fear to it that feels organic to the ears. The best of it were the sounds of the wolf, which was rumored to be a combination of several animals. The score was simply gorgeous, with only about 7 minutes total. The rest of the music in the film were pop songs from various areas, mostly the 50s, and all of the songs in this film have the word moon in their titles. And by the way, there are 3 wonderful renditions of Blue Moon in the film, performed by Bobby Vinton, Sam Cooke, and the Marcells. There's something utterly spooky about some of the slower songs from the 50s, and in the film, it opens with that beautiful slow version of Blue Moon performed by Bobby Vinton, setting the stage for a very creepy start. The performances. All of the performances were really good. If you considered that just before this film, David Naughton was actually most popular for being on a television commercial for Dr. Pepper singing the song I'm a Pepper. He proves to be a good actor in this film, really selling the painful contortions during the transformation scenes as well as the comedic moments. Griffin Dunne was simply brilliant as the hilarious Jack Goodman. It was surprising to learn that he was not as cheerful as his character on set, but it makes sense having seen himself in such a horrific makeup, most likely for the first time. Griffin did double duty as he helped puppeteer the more skeletal version of his character in the adult theater scene while saying his lines at the same time. There is a cameo by Rick Baker as one of the Nazi werewolves in the nightmare sequence. John Landis makes an appearance as one of the people pushed into a window at the end of the film, and Frank Oz makes an appearance in the film, as he does in all of John Landis's films, as sort of a good luck charm. As well, Oz was mostly known for his work on The Muppet Show, which was also cameoed in the film, featuring an episode of the show that was never aired in the US. The best part of the film. I love the camaraderie between Jack and David throughout the whole film. I enjoyed the rich cultural creation of the slaughtered lamb and the people in that small town. I love the physical, visual, and the grit that you see there. But I also enjoyed the secretive and mysterious characters. There actually could have been an entire movie devoted to this story of this little town and the history of the curse. I loved how savage the wolf was in the film. The film didn't hold back on making him insatiably hungry and wild. Not even David's girlfriend could tame him, along with the fantastic special effects sold it for me. My wish list. Actually, there's not much to wish for in this film because it pretty much gives you a lot more than you expect. The ending. The ending is very tragic and pretty violent. David ends up in an adult movie theater in the middle of Piccadilly Square in London and turns into a werewolf at the moonrise. The wolf puts the whole city square in a frenzy of panic, and we have this wild, insane pileup of cars and accidents in a tornado of brutality. Ultimately, David is shot and killed, as Alex is sobbing after having witnessed the death of the man that she loves. This film somehow ends up being a feel-good movie. And how, might you ask? As you're about to start crying along with Alex, the screen completely goes black and a fun, upbeat version of Blue Moon, performed by the Marcells, abruptly sounds off. The credits roll and you are kind of laughing hysterically. And I love that kind of ending much better than one that would have left me broken once the film was over. I mean, it's not a drama. It's just one of those horror films that just don't bank off the cliches of the genre, but offer a mix of humor and visual magic, if you will. Enjoyment. You know, I had the pleasure of seeing this in the movie theater when it came out. Yes, I was only 11 years old, and I saw it with my mom and my best friend at the time, Vanessa. And I remember having just so much fun talking with them about the film afterwards. I mean, we would roll up the top of our lips so that way our teeth would be exposed, just like Jack, and say, "Hi, David," for hours, just giggling and laughing. It was just really a fun movie. It's been years since I've seen the movie. I mean, I've seen it off and on television here and there, but I haven't actually sat down and watched the movie until recently, revisiting it. And in summary, was it too much gore? Maybe. But I feel it was well done, and it was an integral part of the storytelling. And I suppose that the comedy really softens the blow. It's a great crossover flick for people who are not into horror. But I have to say that personally, this is one of my all-time favorite films. My rating is a 9.5. Well, that sums up my review. I hoped you liked it. This is Retro Nerd Girl signing off. Take care, movie lovers. I'm off to my next review.